Hello, everybody. This is Esha Oberoi from Leora.ai, and you're listening to our Workplace Wellbeing podcast. More workplaces than ever are interested in introducing holistic wellbeing initiatives into their working days to better support their employees and their teams. In these micro-learning segments, I sit down with thought leaders in the space of holistic health to discuss the ideas, the opportunities, and the strategies that they're taking advantage of so we can do the same. Welcome, Catalina, today. I'd love to start off with you telling us a little bit more about your journey and what has inspired you to become such a pioneer in healthy living, nutrition, and athleticism.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today. Yeah, sure. I'd love to talk about that with you guys. So firstly, I always been into health and fitness, but I think it was more when I had kids, after I had kids, that I really thought like I wanted to get more serious about it. I used to be in the corporate life, having like a, full-time job at an office. And then when I had kids, I realized that, I was not having enough time for myself, going from the office back to, motherhood. And I was not really doing anything for myself. My energy levels were really low. I also was getting a little bit, down because I was not having anything interesting in my life, anything that was really motivating me. So I decided to get like educated, I got all my certifications in fitness and nutrition. And I just started the journey there. And I tried to learn as much as I could, get as much knowledge as I could acquire at the time. Until I realized that, I probably wanted to do that for life. I wanted to do something that would help people. I wanted to do something that will improve people's lives and, especially, make them happier and healthier. So, yeah, I just started firstly educating myself. And then secondly, I got so much into it that I decided to become an athlete myself. So I started competing after watching lots of like competition and after watching people at the gym where I was going that had that journey, people that, moms that, people that used to work at offices that decided to compete. And I started to see how rewarding the journey was. So I decided to give it a try. And I got hooked. Like I competed for a few years until I got my professional card as a bodybuilder. And I just loved it. And through the journey, I met a lot of people, different people with different stories. And every time I spoke with someone having a struggle to become healthier, to become fitter, I thought to myself, I would love to be able to help this person. I would love to be able to help to make a difference in people's life. So that's how I decided to then, from that hobby that I had, move on to make it more serious and just share the knowledge and help everyone going through the same transformation that I had in my life.
The transformation sounds so simplistic. It's like, oh, you went from a hobby to, educating yourself formally, and then next thing you're a bodybuilder. And that is, but such a huge achievement. And it would require some incredible amounts of willpower, discipline. Do you think you had this inherently, or was it just the pull of the value you were getting from these changes that you brought in your life? Like, how did you get so motivated to become a bodybuilder?
Yeah, I mean, there are two things. Yes, you do need a little bit of motivation, and that comes when you start seeing results. So when you start a process and you see that that process is having benefits in your life, that's just going to give you motivation. You want more, right? But also I became very disciplined. I can't lie to you. Like there were days in which I were not motivated. I would wake up one day and really didn't want to go to the gym. So you can't really rely on your motivation all the time. You have to rely more on the habits that you build and on the discipline that you have. So yes, you do have to have a little bit of motivation, and you get that when you see results. But to see results, the best thing and the first thing that you need to build is good habits. Make a routine that incorporates any fitness or any health, behaviors, and then repeat until they just become part of your day. So that's what happened to me. I started to train every day, and then it was just what I do. The same way that you wash your teeth every day, I would just do exercise. So even when I didn't feel good, I just pushed through and I just went through it, because that's just the consistency that you need, especially when you decide to compete in a sport, in any sport, especially in bodybuilding.
Yeah, I think what you say is so true, and something that we forget in life, that even like we're all going to have down days. We're all going to have days that we're really not motivated or inspired. It's going to happen to the most determined individuals, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But you're absolutely right. It's like, have we got the habits that we can lean on and fall on those particular days? And then that message around consistency is so valuable. Even in the times where it gets dire and so challenging, it's like you've got to remain consistent to your goals. And with that, you not only then became an athletic, you've also been named as one of the top 15 nutritionists by Fox and Apple to watch out for. How did your interest then move into nutrition from sort of exercise and training? And how do you think they interplay as like important combinations to have when we're thinking about our health?
Yeah, I started with fitness, but I realized that only fitness is not enough. It wasn't enough for me, and it's not going to be enough for anyone else. Like, yes, you can make some changes, especially, you can become fitter, you can improve your VO max, you can do a lot of like physiological changes only with exercise, but it's only when you combine the two of them that you see a real result in your life and that you benefit from it. So I say, I can't just continue focusing only in fitness and forgetting all about this. So then I got into nutrition, and I realized that was such an important part of the equation to be healthy. And, just simple things for nutrition that people don't think about, but any goal that you have, any fitness goal that you have will be supported by a nutrition strategy. So for example, if you want to put muscle, but you don't need enough protein, it's going to be very difficult. Or if you want to lose fat, but you are not in a calorie deficit, that's going to be nearly impossible, even if you go to the gym every single day, for example. And also, like, it's more efficient to do it when you combine it with nutrition. It's not as hard, let's say, yes, maybe for people that have never exercised and that have never done any diet, and they start exercising, they might see some changes in the beginning, but it's just so much easier and so much faster if you combine that with good nutrition. So even, for recovery as well, your body will recover better if you're giving it the best nourishment that it needs to build muscle, to, rebuild glycogen levels when you exercise. So everything is really aligned, it's just like both things help each other. Something that is really important is, and it is good news for most people, is that when you exercise, you usually want to eat healthier, right? Mm-hmm. So, you go and do a session at the gym, very rarely you feel like after that session, go and have some very highly processed food or fast food or something like it's not really nourishing. So that's, it's something that helps people as well. You exercise, you usually want to have a good meal, and then you get into that cycle of, making sure you're keeping active, eating healthy, and you just start feeling so much better. So many benefits.
Yeah, it reminds me, I heard someone say you can't outdo a bad diet. Like you can't outrun a bad diet. So no matter how much exercise and training you do, if you're, like you said, not fueling yourself, it's going to show in the body, whether you don't have the energy levels to lift more or run more or whatever, or you just don't have the ability to lose that fat or burn the muscle. Increase your muscle, basically.
Yeah, 100%.
When you talk about exercise and the combination of it with nutrition, the other thing that really comes up for me is like sleep. Isn't that Like we underestimate just the importance of sleep and healing and recovery in this whole process, right?
100%. I think the three main pillars for health and well-being would be fitness, nutrition, and recovery. And sleep, is just as important. If you don't sleep properly, your body will not able to lose fat, for example, or will not able to perform the next day at the gym to, build, lift weights and build muscle. So 100%, like if you're not sleeping well, you're just missing on a big part of the equation. And yes, for busy people, this can be a bit tricky. How do I fit it all? How do I fit a good night's sleep? How do I fit eating well? And then on top of that, exercising. It's very hard. So I usually, tell my clients that you don't have to be perfect straight away. You just have to start building small habits and making small changes that are easier for your lifestyle, but that will allow you to have good recovery, good nutrition, and some sort of activity. And then over time, you just build and progress that and make that a little bit harder, improve, all those three aspects, and you start seeing results.
Yeah, I remember when I started on this journey, I over-engineered the whole thing. I was like, oh, I have to meal prep. And the meal prep became like this enormous event on a Sunday for the week. And then, like a year went, 2 years went past, and the exercise, the nutrition, and the sleep, like the whole combination of that with young kids was so stressful that no matter what I did, I would self-sabotage. I'd end of the few months of having some good runs, I'd cave in. And one of the things I realized is that actually simple food, like literally like very simple meals, steamed, boiled, whatever, in the most natural form with salt, pepper, and lemon is meal prep. And it is delicious. And we've forgotten how tasty just food in its most natural form is. And when I realized that actually that can be the meal prep, it doesn't have to be like luxury Indian curries with rice that I need to homemade. Then it was actually very simple. So I know that your program, because you're really working with people that are busy, and like most now women are also in the workforce. What are some things that you talk about in terms of like simplifying the steps? What are some easy meal prep ideas that you want to share today?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, in the ideal world, you want everyone to meal prep twice a week, make your lunches for the next 3 days, your dinners for the next 3 days. So then you are prepared. So, and yes, it is very important to plan your meals, because when you don't plan, then you're hungry and you just grab the first thing that is around, which is usually not the best option. But in saying that, it's not achievable for everyone, right? We have full-time jobs, people are busy, kids, family. So what I try, and what's something that's been really successful with my clients, is to focus on simplicity. The basics. Let's go back to the basics. Every meal, I tell them, you need to have 3 things in your plate. You need to have a good source of protein, some carbohydrates, and some good fats. So 3 things. And from those 3 things, you can make an amazing meal in 5 minutes these days if you go to the supermarkets. For example, I'll give you a couple of examples. You can just go to Woolies, Coles, buy microwave rice. There's nothing wrong with microwave rice. It will take you 90 seconds to make it. Then you add a side of salad from a packet salad, which is already washed and cut. Then you add kind of tuna, some sardines, which are really nutritious. There are lots of good fats in sardines. If you don't like sardines, you can add smoked salmon, or you can even buy a whole barbecue chicken from the shops and just, shred a little bit of it and have your protein added there. And add, for example, something like an avocado for good fats. I didn't cook in that meal. I just put together a meal in 5 minutes, right? That will take you literally 2 minutes prep each morning if you buy the ingredients in advance. So yes, there are people that like to cook, and if you have the time to meal prep, we can go into a little bit more detail of things that you can cook with more, maybe more flavors, or a little bit more, you want to spend a little bit more time in the kitchen learning how to cook. That can also be very fun. But if you don't have time, just focus on the basics. Make sure you have a good source of protein, good source of fat, carbohydrates and salad, and then you're done. Usually I give my clients like 3 or 4 or 5, depending on the person, options just like that. I just gave you an example of the rice and tuna, but there are other things that you can do. These days they even sell pasta which is already cooked, and you just have to put it in the microwave. You can also add some beef jerky if you're into that. You can make a salad wrap. You can, always there is a lot of good options in the supermarket where you can get quality food and very simple to make. And that's a much better solution than going to a food court in the middle of the day when you're hungry, and you're probably not going to pick the best option for your body. So my advice is always try to keep it simple. If you can meal prep, that's great. If you cannot, just focus on the basics, but be prepared, because if you fail to plan, you're just planning to fail, right? So be prepared, do your online shopping if you don't have time to go to the shops, buy the basics, put your meal together in 5 minutes, and that will make a huge difference.
The other thing I wanted to ask you was stress and cortisol levels, because I see a lot of my friends that they could be eating really healthy, like they're making good food choices, and they're getting in their training, like they're so super committed to their training, but because of the roles that they're in their work places or businesses, the stress levels are so high. It's almost like even if they're eating the most healthiest amount of food and working out, the cortisol levels mean that their body is in a constant state of like stress. And then that's impacting their ability to lose weight. And they've got that, we've got that belly fat, a lot of people that are in high tension roles and jobs. So what is your view, and like, how do you support people that are working full time and they're coming to you with these health goals, but their lifestyle overall or their profession is not supportive of their goals?
Yes, mental health is a big issue these days. And this is where it's so important to, again, build habits that will, help you with that. Meditation is a big thing that it always helps, right? Even if it's only 10 minutes a day, 10 minutes before you go to bed, especially, if you have problems sleeping, that's been so helpful for a lot of people. You can pretty much do a mindful walk as well. There are a lot of apps at the moment that will support you that journey if you don't know how to start, because it's hard. Like if you don't know how to meditate, that could be really, really challenging. So there is a lot of resources online where you can sort of get into it and just start with 10 minutes a day and try to get it done every day before you go to sleep, in the morning, and that can definitely help. But in saying that, people that don't exercise and start exercising will start to see that even though you only exercise for 1 hour a day or half an hour or whatever the time is, that will help you manage stress a little bit better through the day. So it's about finding that time for yourself to make a pause of all your commitments. A little bit of self-care can go a long way when it comes to reducing stress levels, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I think some of the things that you've just spoken about are so valuable. Everything from, having the days even when you're not inspired, to remaining consistent, building on and leaning on those habits that we try and create, the combination and the power of working with nutrition, training, exercise, as well as in sleep. I really thank you for your time, Catalina. Do you have any last words that you want to share, or where can people find you if they want to link up with you and your services?
Sure. My website is catalinalevitt.com, CATALINALEVITT. I actually offer free consultations, free 15 minutes consultation for people that are struggling and that just want a bit of advice to get started with a journey, with a health journey. So feel free to drop me a message and get connected. I'm always happy to help people. But my main advice for everyone today is just to start small. Don't try to change all your life 100% in one day. Just start building small habits, start doing one thing today that will, help you working towards your goal and build from there. That's probably one of the main things that I see works for most of my clients.
Thank you. Thank you to all our listeners that joined us today. And thank you, Catalina.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.